different today, but I'm recovering and I'm here to hear more about Mirandus, a game that I like so much too.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear that you're feeling better. Okay, so let me see if I can share some graphical material we have prepared for today. Um, I hope everyone can see that. Um, okay, so let's get started. First bit of information, we will get to the news that we have for the project. Um, so, first thing first, town halls will now be done monthly. Uh, so we're getting the same cadence for game as for game updates for this town hall. They will happen always a couple of weeks before we release a new update. They will be hosted here on Discord stage, at least for the foreseeable future. Um, and I think they will be a bit shorter than we've previously done. Uh, Mostly because there's only so much information we will be able to share in, every 4 weeks. So the idea is in any case to always keep everyone informed about what we're working on and what's coming up on the next release for Mirandus. And speaking of that, yesterday we started our last sprint rather of work towards May update. I don't know if we've ever mentioned that here, but we organize our work around 2-week long sprints. So this one started yesterday and will end on May 9th. And by then, we should have our release candidate ready with the May update. And that means that we, hopefully, if everything works according to plan, we will be able to release the update on the 13th. Obviously, uh, uh, we can have some last minute hiccups, but we wish to release on May 13th. And I would recommend keeping an eye out for the Gala blog, where we will post the official announcements with all the details as soon as we have the date set in stone. Um, and about the May update, let's see. Let's do a quick overview on what it will include. The major update, at least for us, for the May update, is the new belt lanterns that people will be able to create inside of the game. These lanterns will be equipable on the belt, as I was saying. So that means that they will free up the main hand of players so that they will be able to hold a weapon during nighttime and then engage in combat if they so wish, which is something that's like not really possible to do right now with the torches, with having to hold the torch in your hand and torches not really doing almost any damage to NPCs. So we hope that this will make the nights more engaging for players in general, whether they are playing solo or with friends. We hope that they will be. This will no longer force them to take cover during nighttime and wait the night out until they can go out exploring again. The ability to equip lanterns on the belt will also apply to the Lantern of the Sun. So the Lantern of the Sun also gets a usefulness boost, I would say, with this feature. Um, the the common lanterns will be craftable in game with using items, like the same way it works for crafting weapons and armors. But the Lantern of the Sun remains exclusive to people that own the NFT. Also, uh, lanterns crafted in-game will consume oil when lit. So besides the lantern, you also need to craft your your oil to power up your lantern during nighttime. So it works kind of like a bow, where you need to also be carrying around your arrows to be able to use it effectively or at all. Um, Also, this doesn't apply to Lantern of the Sun. The Lantern of the Sun will continue working the same way it has until now, where it's an infinite supply of light during the night. I think we will add the feature to be able to turn it off during daytime, even if it's equipped on the belt. I, I we probably need to QA that, but I think it will apply to all lanterns, that you will be able to control when they are lit and when they are turned off. So that for common lanterns, you will be able to uh, like reduce oil consumption and 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 keep it only when needed. Use it only when needed. So we hope that will be fun for players to be able to actually go out and adventure during the night. We still think that the night is actually pretty dangerous. So the world of Mirandus is also dangerous. So um, it may still be a decision. Even if you have your lantern ready to go, you may still decide to actually stay near a town during nighttime and wait it out. Related to the lantern work we've done, we've also had one of our artists do a deep dive into the way some of our materials were rendering during nighttime. We we had identified some behaviors that actually looked like bugs, some like building walls and that kind of materials were had a bit of a shine or a light emission during nighttime, and that made the darkness less evident. Even if you measured like nighttime lightning in on Unity, to the eye, to the human eye, is the world looked like it wasn't entirely dark. So one of our artists took a deep look at that, and he did actually identify some materials having some programming errors, I would say, that caused them to shine even during nighttime. So we fixed a bunch of them, not all of them, but we still think that this will make the nights feel much darker, and which in turn makes owning a lantern even more important. So hopefully that those two improvements work hand in hand to make the game more fun for everyone. And we are also getting ready to re-enable the male or female selection on the main menu of the game, so that you can once again choose to play with a male or a female body. For this release, we only have the human female ready. So other exemplars will still look like males even if you select to play as a female. But we expect to introduce the other females to the game in the coming months. That shouldn't take too long. Um, Also, in case anyone is wondering, the gear that you have in your inventory should work the same whether you are choosing to play as a male or as a female. So no need to be crafting a special set of or specialized set of armors for playing as a female. Armors will adapt to the body of the female. And the last bit of update, this is more related to the April's release, where we introduced the gear repair mechanic. We have added an option to repair your gear if you go back to town to repair it in the forge building. This way you can get your repairs a little bit cheaper compared to crafting repair powder. So if you're a player that likes to prepare and plan ahead before playing in Mirandus, you may get a benefit from going back to town every now and then to keep your gear in shape without spending as much materium as if you were crafting the necessary repair powder. So that's a new alternative for everyone where you can strategize around for gameplay. And what comes next after the May update? So after the May update, we are planning to release to add chests or treasures to the world of Mirandus. Right now, we cannot actually put loot in the world without it coming from an NPC uh, that you felled, and that's limiting. That's actually pretty limiting for our game designer. So we are planning. We've already started working on how this feature should look in the world, how it should work, and engineers will soon start working on making the feature actually work inside of the game. As I was saying before, also we are aiming to release new female exemplars. We're planning on having the female elf be playable on the June update, and we are also slowly cooking a main menu redesign where we would uh, feature the new way exemplars look in the game, and also in general shifting information around and changing how it's presented so that it's more clear what you're actually selecting and how and how are you preparing to start the game. And also we are aiming to include an in-game chat feature, which we hope helps players that want to play together, coordinate, or maybe just jump into Mirandus and hang around. So our backend engineers has started looking into how could this be architectured so that it works with what we have in the code base that we have, and the way our backend and client work. So I hope I think that will be fun for everyone. I know that while we play test internally, we sometimes actually would want to have a way to communicate with people nearby in the game. We usually join just a Google Meet while we play, but that doesn't let you know where people are and who's around you. So an in-game chat would actually be helpful even to us while developing. Um, and by July update, we are aiming to be able to release the an MVP version of the pets, of the Mirandus pets, and that would include the pets that we have sold uh, starting last November, if I remember correctly, and also the dragon that comes from owning the 10 vouchers that were included as part of the shipwreck sales, and also the eagle that came with the box that was sold on February and March of this year, and yeah, and any new pets that we create going forward. Uh, we are aiming to show the pets in game, like flying around you, and also giving the bonus uh, that our that our designer shared with everyone. I think it was on Discord. No, it was on the blog. I think it was published on the blog. But we will probably um, uh, add that information again when the July update announcement goes out in the blog. We will give all the details on how the pet feature will work in the game. We also know that the Vexi charms stopped working on the March update. That was unavoidable for us given the way that the charms were coded to work in the game. So sorry about that. We need to go back in and reprogram the way they work, re-implement them. Hopefully this time we can implement them in a way that we can then keep in the game without interfering with our ability to create new features, and so it doesn't break anymore in the future. And we are also feeling that our NPC AI may need um, a refactor there and a bunch of improvements. We are not always able to predict how animals and goblins behave, and the rules that our designer has at his disposal are kind of simple, but they interact in very weird ways. So so we will have engineers take a deep look there and see what could be going wrong with the way AI has been is coded. Hopefully we can have a world that feels more natural and more predictable. In game design, having enemies be predictable tends to allow for more fun gameplay to emerge. And for the rest of the year, we have multiple things actually in our internal roadmap, but at least some things that I can mention publicly, and given that they are very high priority for us, is having all the other female exemplars available and playable in the game, and introducing new enemies, new weapons, and a new zone to expand the world of Mirandus, the playable world of Mirandus. Um, and a bunch of more things that hopefully I will be able to put a firmer date on them in the coming months. Uh, so my aim is to be sharing the roadmap every town hall, where we will be leaving the oldest release behind, and showing the a new one, a new upcoming release uh, for a later date, and with more set goals for that update. Obviously, do consider the all the roadmap except for the May update. Do consider the roadmap that to be something more like goals and intentions for us, which could always suffer a last minute change if things go sideways during development. Okay, so this is not set in stone. We are always working towards having the game be more fun, more complete, and closer to having all features and NFTs working in there for everyone. Um, so yeah, that's the roadmap right now. And we also did ask people for questions beforehand. I think there's been a bunch of questions going by in the chat. So thanks, Micho and Kuro, for taking care of that. Um, hopefully, we are on the same page on what you are answering there. But I will take the ones that came in via the form. Um, so there were a bunch of questions about deed and building placement from Lucifer, Wave Motion, and Nath. Thank you for your questions. So right now, we think the fastest way for us to make deeds work in the game is actually um, to have them placed by us. So make spots, define spots in the world where deeds will go, and have people that own the NFTs go there and claim the places in the world with their NFT, and have the deed show up, or enable, or in some way communicate to players that the deed is claimed and active, and that will let us um, control the density of deeds in a zone, so that we don't run out of play area, which is a consideration here. The world does need to feel like it's been colonized by people, but actually it's a hostile environment, and you have to be careful when going from settlement to settlement. Um, so we are inclined to implement deeds as something that comes predefined with the world, and you, and as an NFT owner, come into the world and choose which one is yours, uh, and which one and how the deed will behave. Like, um, a little bit of, or rather, not a little bit, but we will allow some control over what buildings can be placed in a deed, um, within limits, because towns in general need to have a certain minimum variety of buildings for them to work as a town. Um, so yeah, that's the information I can give you right now. We don't have a date for when deeds would be working in Mirandus, but it's high on the priority list. We want to get there soon. Um, we just need to have like basic game features in place before. Um, Lucifer also asked, will docks be used mostly to store ships, or will you always need docks from normal travel from place to place? Um, as far as we understand, ships are intended to be used, or rather were sold or are described as being able to carry cargo, but also to carry people from place to place. So for us, it feels natural to have docks be the place where sea travel starts and finishes. So you can imagine if Mirandus is a huge island, then you could be jumping from one beach to another, taking a ship from one dock and getting off on another dock. Uh, Docks are a bit further behind that deeds in our internal task priorities. So uh, do please have a little bit of patience around dogs being usable in game. I would add that caveat. Um, there were also a couple of questions regarding Materium, when it would be granted. Um, that's also high in our priority list. It's right there with deeds, uh, or maybe even higher priority than deeds, but we do have some uh, requirements before being able to grant Materium. The most important one, I would say, is that we need to have enough features in the game for Materium to actually be useful while playing. So that's restriction that we have right now on being able to grant Materium, real Materium, while playing the game. But it's very important for us. We know that it's very important for you also, for everyone playing the game. So hopefully we can have it in the game uh, in less than a year. Uh, Hopefully before the end of 2025, but it's something that depends on us being able to put uh, all the required pieces in place to lay the foundation before granting Materium. Also, depending on how we decide to grant Materium while adventuring, that will put incentives on how to play the game. and that's also something that we have to be very very careful about. Which takes me to a question by Freelancer, who asked, "What have you guys learned so far from the Golden Bunny and the persistent playtest in terms of how players, NPCs, and creatures interact with scenery and use the environment to achieve their goals?" Um, the main learning for us is that we have to be very careful with incentives, or else you get people killing mother, where when she was in a place where she supposedly was uh, like away from players. Um, you also get players bunny hopping on top of your mountains, which is not something that we saw coming. But what's the optimal strategy for the incentives we have placed on in the game by then? So all of that uh, have been learning opportunities for us in how we should um, show the game to players. Like I know we discussed this with players before. Um, like if we didn't want you to be climbing mountains, then mountains shouldn't have been climbable. And you're right. So so yeah, we have to be very careful with player incentives. They have to be balanced so that not all players are doing the same thing at the same time. Uh, this is also related to another question by Freelancer, where he asked, or they asked rather, what are your long-term plans to balance supply and demand for natural resources? And how do you plan to make these things feel like a natural part of the Mirandus world? So the only way where we can keep up with demand for resources in the game in general is to have gameplay that rewards doing different things, and not have everyone go for the same thing at the same time. Like for example, everyone needing to stock up on arrows for killing wolves the first time around, and that meant that all trees were um, were devoured by players, and there was no way for us to keep up until everyone had like their inventory full of arrows. So that's something that we wish to avoid in the future, and we wish to have uh, different resources be useful at the same time, and giving you alternatives, play different play styles in the game. That's the way we can keep up with demand. And about making hunting feel like a natural part of Mirandus, I would recommend searching YouTube for an interview that Ars Technica did to Richard Garriott about Ultima Online and their virtual ecology, and how they were never able to keep up with players and how they behaved in the world. So you actually may not need a virtual ecology uh, as such in a world to make it feel natural. Um, it's more about how the world looks or behaves when you are looking at it, and smoke in mirrors when you are not looking. Um, and it's about making it feel fun. That's the best way to keep players engaged in with the game. Have the game be fun. Um, there was also a um, a question posted anonymously about uh, how we decide what feature to tackle first. Like, why are we not working first on the oldest NFT and going by date, maybe uh, in the order of implementation? And the answer is that we prioritize based on multiple factors. In the end, we need to we need to make the game fun. We need the game to be engaging and to have content, given that it's an MMORPG. So so we have to be to balance things as we work on them. Like this is a single team, so we work mostly on one thing at a time, and as soon as something is finished, we released it. So that's why that's the main advantage of our monthly cadence, new monthly cadence for releasing game updates. And so we need to make progress on each like aspect of the game at a time. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's the way we've been trying to create our roadmap. And we know that making NFTs, the already sold, make them work in the game is very important. But we have to make decisions about which NFTs go out first. And that's based on the impact they can have in the game, like how much gameplay we can build around them, and maybe how many players hold these NFTs, right? And and w- how much engagement and does it help us in creating further content for the game? So it's a pretty complicated issue, and we revisit it every month. Every month we are even even every sprint, I would say, we sit down with the people in the team. We discuss how things are feeling in the game, how things are feeling with the community, as we see it on Discord, and our metrics, how many people are playing the game, and we uh, take that into consideration every time we update the roadmap. Um, and also as we learn uh, how things are created in our code base and inside the Gala ecosystem, we also identify like prerequisites and additional steps that we have to take beforehand. So we start adding them in the roadmap, and that may push other things further down the roadmap. But we're always trying to make progress toward making all the NFTs work in the game. We're very very much aware of how important having all NFTs working in the game is for everyone here. Um, Another anonymous question we received: will there be NPCs on each building or around town? It feels lonely if the town is empty. Yeah, you're right. If the town feels lonely. Um, we had an improvement towards having the towns feel more alive when we added furniture and decoration inside buildings. I would say it helped with navigation, and it helped with recognizing buildings from afar, and it helped in feeling like someone may have been there a moment before you. Um, but about having NPCs, what we have considered is that maybe we could have NPCs that would like justify that the buildings continue working even when the owner is not there. That was one idea we've been floating around, um, so that we could make the gameplay work around uh, buildings being always operated by the owner or by someone there, and not operated by the player that's coming in to make a purchase. So yeah, having NPCs in buildings is an idea. I don't think it would be like a JRPG where you would be able to speak to tons and tons of people that are going around town doing their own stuff. But yeah, it's adding NPCs in buildings is a possibility. But it needs to justify as a feature. It needs to justify itself as a feature before we spend time developing it. So yeah, good question there. And Rorusake, sorry if I mispronounced the nicknames of everyone here. Uh, it's not common to hear them out, so I'm improvising here. Rorusake asked, the current combat system is promising, but it feels like it could use more variety and depth to keep players engaged. Are there plans to introduce more dynamic combat mechanics, such as combos, skill trees, or elemental synergies to make battles more strategic and fun? Well, on the March update, we introduced something along those lines, the Awakened State, where you can have craft and equip sets of armor that give you a bonus for against enemies depending on the element that you chose uh, to wear, with the crush, slash, and pierce elements being available. But we want to continue building on top of that, and we know that the original design of the game considered that people would be able uh, to advance masteries for their character, and meaning that they would like something akin to earning experience based on the actions that they would undertake in the world. Um, Something like uh, sword fighting could be a mastery, and maybe archery would be a mastery. So as long as you kept fighting with bow and arrows, you would um, raise your archery mastery, and that would unlock additional combat features. We've discussed things about along those lines, but uh, additional combat mechanics are not in our near term roadmap. We we first need to explore how much we can get out of the current combat mechanic before committing to adding additional features, so that we don't distract too much from, for example, implementing deeds, buildings, dogs, sheeps, horses, and like all NFT related features. So this is again what I was mentioning before, where we need to be making progress on different aspects of the game one at a time, and keep moving forward on what looks like our top priorities at that moment. Uh, so so yeah, that's it with the questions I had seen on the forum. So thank you everyone who wrote in. They were interesting questions. Um, and yeah, it wasn't that short of a town hall after all.
Yeah, yeah,
I-
true. I was about to say that. In the end, it was almost like a 1 hour town hall. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Thank you everyone for your questions. When I was preparing the answers, I realized that a good chunk of the time we would be discussing around the questions we received. So thank you for to everyone who wrote in. Um, we um, the idea is to have this be uh, happen every month. So if I didn't get to answer your question this time, feel free to write again, and I will try to include it next time. And thank you, Kuro, Micho, and everyone who jumped in to answer questions that were coming in the chat. I'm not able to read and speak at the same time unless I'm reading out loud. So thank you for helping me with that side of things. Um, and I will try to share the roadmap on Discord too, so that you can take a look at again if you missed or if you missed it, if you joined late, or maybe you want to double check stuff that we mentioned after
yeah, that would be cool.
showing it.
Mhm,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that was everything I had prepared.
mhm. So can say
So thank you,
hey,
Doug, for helping
oh,
me host the town hall,
appreciate it.
and thank you everyone for joining. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi everyone.